Hey guys, hey, this is Anne Marie, and this is the Anti-HR channel. And as you know, on this channel, we talk about HR stuff, but from the perspective of employees. And I try to teach you guys how to understand HR, how to understand how it functions, how to understand your employee workplace rights, and how to assert those rights if they are violated. But I also like to educate you about all things relevant to HR that will help you be a better employee and a better educated employee. Because as I always say, the most dangerous employee is the one that understands how everything works. And that's the employee that you want to be. So today I want to talk a little bit about resumes. And this is something that came up in a previous video. And I promised, based on your comments, that I would put together some content to give you some advice about resumes. Because as you know, with everything that's going on in the world, especially in the United States, there are a lot of people out on the job market. Um, there with all the stuff going on with the federal government, not just in Washington, D.C., but in the surrounding areas and even outside of Washington, D.C., a lot of people are now looking for jobs. And so I wanted to give some tips about how to navigate the job search process and especially how to create a resume that will put you at the top of the list because that's what you want to do. How to create a resume that's going to help you be the person that an employer wants to bring in for an interview. And so today I am speaking to a good friend of mine and my who I go to if I have questions about resumes, my dear friend Robert Petish of Petish and Petish. He's a resume expert, and he's going to talk to us a little bit today about how to create a resume that's going to get your resume to the top of the stack. So I'm going to give Robert an opportunity to say hello, introduce himself, and then we're just going to have a conversation about what are the things that people need to understand about the job search process and then the role that your resume plays in that process in terms of getting you in front of recruiters into the interview process and then into the job that you want. So, Robert, you want to introduce yourself? First of all, thanks for being here,
Yeah, I
right?
want to say thank you. I really feel
Appreciate
like
it.
it's a privilege to be here. It's great seeing you again. Anne-Marie's been a great mentor. We worked together for quite a number of years, and I learned a lot from her as well. So you're in good hands. And today I really want to focus on, as Anne-Marie said, maybe some the goals of the conversation to provide you with a whole lot of context, a whole lot of how and why, and to make your resume stand out in these times, right? So we're talking to a specific group of people. We all have some professional years behind us, or even if you don't, this conversation is still for you, right? But how do you make your resume stand out? How are you included in the conversation where your resume is selection for the interview? And just to give you a little bit more context versus just general information that you may be seeing about um, seeing for resumes that's out there on the website. So thank you for having this conversation, Anne Marie, and I'll pass it back over to you.
Thanks. So, one of the things I want to make sure that people understand is really how the job search process works, right? And as a
Mhm.
person that has worked, in every aspect of HR from administrative to all the way up to, recruiting and hiring and so on, I wanted to give people a little bit of insight into, first of all, how does this happen, right? Before we even get to the resume, how, what goes through the manager's mind, the HR person's mind, and how does the process happen? So, from my experience, this is just a quick summary of how it happens, people, because I think you need to understand this. Someone leaves a job, someone creates a job, someone decides they need someone to do a thing for them in a company or in a small business and whatever. Because we want to talk about this from the perspective of anyone looking for a job. We want to make this applicable to anyone really looking for a job, right? So someone decides that they need someone.
Mhm.
Usually in the corporate or even in most corporate environments or any business that is, medium to larger. So we're not talking about mom and pop, but even mom and pop in these days and times. The first thing you have to do is you kind of write down what it is that you're looking for, right? And that is usually where the job description comes from. In most environments, people write down a job, description of what they want. And then if there's an HR department, they feed that to HR, and HR will help them develop a job description. From the job description, which is something a lot of people don't understand, the job announcement is created. So the job announcement is not the same thing as the job description, as I've explained in video before.
Mhm.
The job announcement is a summary of the job description. It is a marketing device by the employer to attract people to submit applications for the job, to say, hey, I think I have what you're looking for. I would like you to talk to me about hiring me for this job. So they will create a job announcement, and then the job announcement is then pushed out. Back in the day, they would put an ad in the paper or they would do
Mhm.
something like that. But now everything is electronic, everything is automated. So, what employers use, even small employers now, use some type of ATS system, right? That allows them to, put this out in electronic form, put it on multiple job boards most of the time. A lot of places, the ATS system is tied to a larger intranet system platform of some kind in the company. But the ATS system then pushes this out to job boards. And then people see the job come up on job boards, usually not in the paper, but even those that you see in the paper now, there's some type of ATS system behind it, right? And Robert, you can kind of explain what ATS is
Mhm.
in a minute, but that's what happens. And then this ATS system uses AI. And even before we were talking about AI and the way that we talk about it now, they were using some type of artificial intelligence has been used for a while in the employment, search process, right? It's just more sophisticated now. And so one of the things I would like for Robert, if you could explain, is what an ATS system is, first of all, and then the role that it plays in terms of how people should think about resume development and resume prep, because
Mhm.
it's not a human being, you know what I'm saying, that is looking at
Mhm.
this anyway. It's going through this electronic process before it even gets in front of the recruiter. And the recruiter is using the ATS to do the first cut of who they should even be looking at, right? So can you explain to people why that's important to understand when they're developing a resume?
Absolutely. So ATS stands for Application Tracking System. They've been around for a really long time, although they're now mostly powered by AI and AI programs. They're simply put, it's a way of filtering out applications that meet the criteria and they have the skill set and the requirements for the position they're applying for. Simply put, if you were applying for a position to be a program manager at a nonprofit, if you don't have any experience with that, or you don't meet the requirements, the ATS system won't even allow the recruiter or those HR professionals to view that application. So then that leads us into what we call in the resume world ATS optimization. So now that we have AI, and let's just focus on AI for a second. Now that we're in this world of AI, we're here, right? It's not going away. It's only going to increase. You don't have to be afraid of it, and we'll get into that later. But most ATS systems are now are powered by AI, so you just have to know what they're looking for and how to navigate that, and how to optimize your application for that. So there are individuals that do that, someone like myself, and there are also programs that you can use that will optimize your application and your resumes to make them more visible in the ATS system. So what do I mean by saying optimize it for ATS? ATS is looking for number one, grammatical perfection. Not even there should be no grammatical errors. That will be the first thing that will get you booted out of a system if there are periods that shouldn't be there, or if there are the bullet points that have periods that are not full sentences, or they're not semicolons. At this point, you're really looking for grammatical perfection, because between your Microsoft products, your Grammarly's, by the time you submit your resume, there should be no grammatical errors. So that's one way of doing it. Your font, I know that sounds, and we'll talk about font in another way that'll probably throw you off, or you'll be really surprised about. Font. Is the font consistent? I can't tell you how many resumes I've seen that start off in 20 and then they end in 12, or they want to maximize this section, so they put it in 7. ATS will disregard that application if there's too many fonts in the system. So you're talking about grammatical errors, font, There's also things like does it make sense because it is a reading object, so meaning it's a reading tool. Until recently, meaning as early as last year, A- AI could not read text box. So do you have your information stored in a text box? That information wouldn't be counted, right? Or do you have things in columns? AI can read left to right and right to left, but not in columns. It can now, as of this year, and maybe late last year. But what you have to be careful about that is which AI system are you using? Which AI system is the place where you're applying using? So ATS takes this all into consideration when you're submitting an application. I'm sorry, a resume. Is the resume concise? Is it consistent? Is it clear? Is it comprehensive? Is it grammatically correct? Is it the correct font? All these things make it to where you can just get past the system. And one of the biggest things about ATS that there is no ground rule about um, is the do the do the do the words in the job description and the terms of the job description, so the requirements of the job descriptions, do they match the resume and cover letter that are being submitted? The basic is 20, right? Some people go up to at least 300, but that depends on the person preparing your resume, yourself, or the system. But the minimum is 20. So if you're submitting a resume,
Let me
you need to
stop
have
you for a second.
uh-huh,
What do you mean when you say the minimum is 20? 20 of what? What do you mean by that?
20 keywords.
Okay, so you want to use a minimum of 20 keywords that come directly
Absolutely.
from the job
Absolutely.
announcement that you saw.
Absolutely. Minimum 20. So when you see that job announcement, there must be 20 words in that resume that perfectly align up with the skills, the background, the professional title. It must be the same or it will not pass ATS.
And let me ask you, because I think this is a very important point, because I think,
Mm-hmm.
you know, a lot of us, especially those of us in the, over 45 group, the way
So,
that we were taught is that you could just have one resume that highlighted all your skills and knowledge and abilities, and you could just push that out when you saw a job. And what you're saying now is you have to develop a resume when you're applying for a job that aligns with that job announcement, right? Because so that means you have to put a lot more work and thought into submitting a resume for every job and your letter, your email or letter of
mm-hmm,
introduction, because
mm-hmm.
if you don't do that, it's not going to matter what your knowledge and skills are that you put in those nice little bullet points that people like to use, because the ATS system is not going to allow it to go through. So you actually have to update your resume each time to make sure that it aligns
It
with
must be
job
customized.
announcement.
Absolutely.
That's a lot
So
of
just
work.
to give you one more thing about AI that makes things easier for individuals, when I say don't be afraid of it, use it. AI works on what we call prompts. If you learn how to write a prompt, you have to tell it's important and necessary that you tell the application, meaning ChatGPT or 4 or whatever system that you use, exactly what you want to do. You can upload your resume and say, please update my resume for this position of directing manager of at company XXX. It will do that
Mhm.
for you. However, it will lack the personalization that you could do on your own. So it's great to use a framework, just like you use it at your job. Hey, I need you to write this letter immediately to the ambassador of, Zimbabwe. Can you do that for me now? It's just a tool to help you. And also, how does it work? It's an amalgamation of all the resumes out there on the web, all the open and free information. They put it together. So when you think about that, when you request something for AI, you're getting everyone's information, not your information. Is it correct? Yes. Is it logically sound? But does it make sense for you? So you're still investing in yourself. Your resume is it's your calling card, it's your business card, it's your love letter to your new employee, right? Your
Lawyer.
the yeah, the recruiter's gonna see it, your hiring manager's gonna see it, maybe your team members are gonna see it, then maybe a group interview is gonna see it. You want to make that personal. So I think that's the advantage that you want to go for is like I would say this. remember, I'm of an age where I remember when we had spell check come about when Microsoft Word. Remember spell check came about, right?
Mhm.
I remember we had spelling bees. We had to learn how to spell, and PH makes this sound and PS makes this sound. But then all of a sudden, everybody had spell check, and then everybody had calculators at their desk. We had to use, paper and pencil. It's the same with AI. It may seem like a disadvantage if you don't know how to use it, but what you still know how to use is you must interject yourself. If you're still a good professional writer, editor, um, you must add something to it. That piece of software cannot substitute for your unique backgrounds. So
But let me
you have the advantage. Yeah.
because I would say to all those of us who are over
Hmm.
45, and even those of us who are over 50, it is imperative if you are
Hmm.
still in the job market that you develop a basic understanding of AI. I use
Absolutely.
AI all the time. I actually love AI, but it scares me a little bit how fast it learns, but I really like it because it makes me I use it in a very specific way, and I think what you said is
Mhm.
important, that you can give it information and give it directions and a framework, but then you need to review what it gives you and put your
Absolutely.
personal touches in it. I don't believe that you should ever just take anything that AI produces and put it out into the world, because you are still the subject matter expert. You're the subject matter expert when it comes to your resume. You're the subject matter expert if you're writing it for content, for anything, for your job or your work or whatever. Don't be lazy, but understand how to use it so that it gives you a
Absolutely.
framework, and then you can say, okay, and you can tell it how to personalize it. So you don't even have to
Hmm.
do any of that either. You can say, okay, this is a good first draft, but now I need you to insert this because I've done this, or I want you to write it in this way because this is how I would say it. You have to interact with it and give it instructions about how to personalize based on what you want it to do. And it will do that. It's an
Hmm.
interactive process still when you're using AI. So it can't be passive because you want to interject yourself. And in a world where a lot of people are being lazy and just using it, you will stand out because you weren't, right? That even though the keywords are there
Absolutely.
and all of those things are there, you took the time to personalize it, still using the tool to interject yourself and your experiences, especially when you're writing that letter of introduction, which you can also use AI for, right? And you're writing that resume, you use the keywords, but personalize it. And so, Robert, can you talk a little bit about, and I would throw out, if you don't feel you could do that, this is why Robert is here, because I want you all to meet him, because Robert does this as a
Yeah,
business.
exactly.
He
And
helps
I
people.
wanted to back up something that you said
Well, let
that
me just
resonates
finish
with.
that.
Go
Let me
ahead,
just finish
please.
what I'm saying. Robert helps people write their resumes because this is not something that everyone can do or has the bandwidth to do, because
Hmm.
AI doesn't necessarily take you less time if you're using it correctly. You have to know how to sit there and get what you need out of it. So in a lot of cases, it might be easier for you to create the outline or whatever, give it to someone like Robert, and get it done faster so that you can apply for whatever number of jobs that you're trying to apply for. But Robert, can you talk a little bit to people about, like, how do
Hmm.
they go about personalizing it in the way that you're talking about? Like, what are the things they
Absolutely.
need to think about? Because I don't think people necessarily, when they're thinking about things that they have done, right,
Hmm.
in the context of applying for a job, they don't always think about the right things in terms of what they
Hmm.
put in a resume to
Hmm.
get the attention of a recruiter.
Absolutely. So first, I want to start off by doing discussing something that I hope we can. This is a safe space to talk about is bias, right? We all want to avoid bias. We all want to get the interview, right? Number one, age proof your resume. If you have a college diploma of any type, whether it be AS, bachelor's, any continued education, there's no need to put down dates, right? So that's the first step of personalization. Is number one, you don't want to create bias for yourself or let yourself be subject to bias, especially something as simple as ageism that we all slip into around 40, 45, depending on the state you're in, right? So take
Mhm.
away dates. All you need to have is degree conferred by this university, or awarded by this university, or professional certificate awarded by this institution or governing body. That's all you need. Another thing to
Thank
make it personal,
you for saying that.
huh?
Thank you for saying that, because I think that's a very important point that Robert just made, is
Yeah,
that
that's
ageism
personalization.
is real. Ageism is real. I talk to people
Oh,
every day
no.
in jobs,
Oh,
and a lot of
can we
times
go a
some
little
of them
bit further into it?
they don't
Yeah,
even
let's,
recognize
yeah.
that some of the things happening to them is happening to them because of ageism. And
Hmm.
let me tell you, as a person who has overseen HR, looked at job descriptions, I'm telling you, people do it. And sometimes they do it unconsciously, but they do it. And so the best thing that you could do, as Robert said, is to age proof your
Your
resume by
resume.
not providing information that you don't have to provide. So, Robert, can
And
you say
I want to
again,
go.
what are the things people need to not be putting on their resumes?
No dates that would indicate your graduation date. I want to talk about that just a little bit more in detail. So I'm going to give you that again. So if you have any form of higher education, AAAS, bachelor's degree, master's degree, all is required is you put the university in that, and you are confirming that that university or that governing body provided that degree or professional certificate or whatever is needed. You do not need to put down a date. That's number one. Anything that would indicate your age on the resume, including work experience. And I say this is sensitive. I think that sometimes individuals want to hold on to certain experiences. I call them not notches in your belt experiences, where that was your place. You were there for 10 years and you rocked it. Yeah, but it was 15 years ago. You might want to let that go. That is your choice, but it's one that you may want to let go and just move forward and increase how you show up in your other positions, as you should. Or you may want to also consider how how you place your resume. Is it going to be chronological, or is it going to be by position? All that is
Mhm.
available to you to not disclose your age on your resume. Two more things that I want to point out about your resume and ageism. Skill set.
Mhm.
Certain times you put down certain skills, individuals put down certain skills that are no longer okay. It's great that you use that system in 2010. Is anyone using that? Furthermore, do you know how to use it? Were you an implementer then, but now you're a manager, so then why are you putting it down? One of the easiest ways on a resume you can tell someone's age is how they describe their skills. I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. If you just put down, I'm proficient in Microsoft Word, what does that mean? What products do
Mhm.
you know how to use? Are we talking about project? Are we talking about access? That's how much in detail that you want to be when you put it down in the resume. For example, I'll use me. I have data. I was a data analyst in graduate school in college. So I use SPS heavily. There's no way that I'm going to put down SPS now, because if someone asked me to use SPSS, I wouldn't know how to use it nor would I want to at my level. So be careful about how you list the skills that you know how to use, because they will also disclose your age. But on the flip side, they can help you if you personalize it, because we're originally talking about personalizing by saying, I know how to use this program, this package, this skill very well. For example, Adobe. You put down Adobe as a skill. Adobe has 12 packages. You know how to
Mhm.
use Adobe Illustrator, Adobe C3, all those things by doing it in exactly what you know how to use and what you feel comfortable in. And when I say comfortable in, can you show someone else how to use it?
Mhm.
That will also um, safeguard you from ageism. The last thing, it's kind of a fun thing for me because I'm a nerd, that you would like to know is font, right? Please don't use New Times Roman. Times Roman. We are
No,
not
I
in the
don't use
13th
it.
grade. We're
Uh-uh.
not here. No, don't do it. A nice serif, a good Grammont, a good Georgia, a good Centaur, never hurt. We all love those. But believe it or not, oh, one more thing. Double spacing after you um the period, that's from typewriter days. That's where that comes from. If you double space, automatic giveaway that you have some city miles. Yeah, yeah. So those are things you can
And that's
do.
so hard for me because I took typing class, so I'm aging myself. I took
Double
typing in
space.
high school, and
Yeah.
that double space after the period was hammered into me by my very mean typing teacher. And so it's so funny because I remember when on your
Mm-hmm.
iPhone email, it would do the double for you and it doesn't do it anymore. It doesn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
It doesn't when you put a period in, it doesn't automatically
No.
put the two spaces anymore, which is wild
No.
to me and drives
It,
me crazy when I'm writing emails because I still put the double space and I don't care because I work for myself. But
no one under
hate,
30 uses
I
double
hate
space.
to
Mm-hmm.
not see the double space because it runs the words together and it's harder to read,
Mm-hmm.
right?
The only
It
people that use
definitely
double space now officially is the U.S. Department of State. The only no other. That's how you know if you see a document that has a double space, U.S. Department of State. That's it. And so either you work for State Department or you're over 35. Easy. I
So
know.
people
It
keep
sounds,
that in mind because, as you know,
yeah.
there are a lot of people who are involuntarily being pushed back into the job market because of the shenanigans of the current occupant of the White House
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
federal government. And so people are having to go back onto the job market, and ageism is real. So what
This is
I'm
very
saying
real.
is to get your face in front of the recruiter and to get on the phone to get to because what we're trying to get you to is a resume that will get you to the phone interview, which will then get you to
Absolutely.
the in-person interview. And
One
so
more thing.
you want your resume to stand out in a way that is going to allow you to not, get pigeonholed,
Mhm.
get skipped by the ATS system is the first thing. So you got to get through the ATS system. And then when you talk, to the recruiter and whatever, you don't want to do and say things that's going to cause you to not get to the full interview because of your age. Because unfortunately, a lot of the people making
Mhm.
these decisions are young enough to be your kids, and in some cases, your grandkids. And they are
Mhm.
I hate to say it, but they are ageist. The Age Discrimination Act exists for a reason. And so, as you're older, even those of us who don't necessarily look our age, these things that Robert is
Mhm.
sharing is very important because a lot of you are still putting your home address. And Robert, I want you to get to why you should not put your
Absolutely.
address on your resume
Mhm.
and what you should do instead. There are a lot of things that we're doing that is
Mhm.
not a good thing for us in terms of avoiding
Right.
discrimination.
So thank you for bringing that back up. So we're getting to you all these things, like I said in the beginning, we're adding context. We're talking about AI. We're talking about ageism. We're talking about making your resume stand out. So one of the things that is no longer in vogue for very serious reasons is placing your contact information on the top of a resume. All that is required is your first and last name, maybe an email address, your mobile phone number. You could always just put your LinkedIn contact information. They can email you on LinkedIn if they click on it, right? The reason why is there's something called PII, personally identifiable information, where you should never have 2 points at any time. Because in these days of AI, it takes so little to find out who you are, what you do, and your personal information. So if you put your name, your first name, last name, home address, phone number, email address, and then you put down when you graduated, and all it takes is to click on your social media, see when your birthday was. I have your date of birth, your home address. I have everything. And it wasn't even me, it's some AI in some country with nefarious reasons. Please be careful of these things. It is not required. So, for example, if an organization or employer is saying this is for local employees only, or we're looking for people that live in this country, that is discussed between you and the recruiter, or that information is put on your application. It does not need to be confirmed in your resume. Your resume is simply there to give them your qualifications and your skills and the reasons why you were applying for this position. So just safeguard yourself. So before I turn it back over to Anne-Marie to clear up that point, I want to say one more thing about ageism and how you can safeguard yourself from that. And also, once again, we want to stay on track about making your resume visible. I remember, if you remember in the beginning of my conversation with you, I said, know your audience. There is nothing wrong with going on. If you have a potential employer or someone that you're interested in working for, look and see who has the current position. Who's going to be in your team? Look at the level of years. I don't want to say age, but the level of years of experience those individuals have. Look at their resumes. They got the job. use those keywords. So guess what? You're going to be on the same team. And not only that, they're probably going to be a part of the decision-making process. So you get rid of a lot of things. You're looking at company culture. You're looking at the number of years or and protecting yourself from ageism when you look at those individuals that you're looking at on LinkedIn or wherever their application, their resumes may be available. And that's another way that you can make your resume stand out by you're curating it, you're tailoring it specifically to the position and now to the individuals that you potentially be working for. So the more you invest in your own process um, of curating and tailoring your resume, the better off you'll be. Anne-Marie?
Thanks.
Mm-hmm,
So I want to talk a little bit, we've talked about a little bit about the bias, and you've touched
mm-hmm,
on something that I also think people should be doing that they don't do well, which is research. And
mm-hmm,
there's a lot of reasons why you want to do research. And I've done videos about the importance of researching employers before you apply for jobs, so you know what kind of situation you're going into. And you've given some advice about it,
mm-hmm,
doing research so that you can get a sense of who you're going to be working with, the company. You can use LinkedIn if you use that platform. I'm not a big fan of LinkedIn, but if you're on LinkedIn, that's a good way to
mm-hmm,
search about a company. There's Glassdoor. There's
mm-hmm,
Indeed. There are lots of companies now, platforms that that you can go look up information about, like how many people work there, who's in the current position that you're applying for. What do people who have worked at the company have to say about it? These are important things to do when you are in the resume development process and the application process. You don't want, and I've done a separate video about things to ask in interviews and all that kind of stuff. But when you're developing a resume, right? What are things that you need to do? You've talked about the keywords. This is important. That's important.
mm-hmm,
But what else should you be doing in terms of developing your resume, using, ChatGPT or anything else that you're using to ensure, besides the keywords, that you're writing a resume that is not only going to catch the eye of the recruiter. If you do the things Robert's mentioned about the keywords, it's going to get through ATS, it's going to get to the recruiter. But what are the things that you need to also be thinking about doing in terms of your resume and how you also talk about your resume when you get to the recruiter? That's more likely to get you from recruiter conversation to group interview conversation.
mm-hmm. That's a great question. I think if we put it at this point, um, what are employers, firms, companies looking for? They are looking for who can increase our funding potential, who can increase our revenue, who's going to increase our market value, who's going to increase our name recognition. Basically, what can you do for us, right?
Mhm.
At the end of the day, these companies all want to, it's an agreement, it's a partnership. What can you do for us? What are you bringing to the table? So where does that start? I start when will make your resume stand out more than ever now. It's not the hard skills, right? It's not the applied skills that we just talked about, Microsoft and all those things. It's actually your competencies, right? Meaning, oh, I'm a good communicator. No, if you have the space on your resume, please save some space either in your resume or in your cover letter for um, I conflict resolution, give an example, team builder, uh, things of that nature that will show your leadership, innovation, um, things that will show your business acumen and the business personality that you're bringing. Because remember, in this AI world, all those things are left out. But
Yeah.
us having a certain, amount of experience to know that these are things that actually make a team stick together. This is actually what pushes forward. So rely on your competencies, save space for those things because professional competencies are just as important as professional skills or those applied
Can I
skills.
can I add
Um,
something else in?
Absolutely. Yeah.
The other thing, and I mentioned this in a resume recently where I was talking to people about things they can do if they believe that their manager is setting them up to fail. And one of the things that I
Mm-hmm,
told people is to record your wins, to document your wins. And
mm-hmm,
if you are carefully documenting your wins in your workplace, journaling them, keeping paper trails of them. This is
Hmm.
something you want to put in your resume. How did you help the company make $50 million last year? How did you save the company $25 million? What did you do? What suggestion did you make that turned into a business model for the company? What did you do? Because as you said, it's all about what have you done for me lately and what can you do for me, right? You want no, that's what employers are. This is
I don't
this is
know. Yeah,
capitalism.
it's the
It's
truth. Yeah.
nobody cares. I tell people that all the time
Hmm.
about what are you doing for the bottom line of the company. So if you know that you have done things that have saved the company money, right? Has made the company money, you need to put those things in that letter as an accomplishment. You need to mention that stuff in the interview, on the phone interview. Even if they don't ask you, find a way to bring it up, right? Don't just talk about
Hmm.
your communication skills or what you know how to use, and even about the fact that you're good with team building. What did you help? How did you help those people make money?
Hmm.
How did you
Hmm.
help them make money? Because that is what people want to hear, whether it's for profit or nonprofit. How did you help them save money? If you came up with an idea that saved them money, or did you came up with an idea that made them money? Make sure you are recording your wins. Make sure you're doing that all throughout your employment so that when you're getting ready to look for another job, you can easily tap those things and put them into your resume and or your introduction email or letter. And I have a question, Robert. Is it better
Hmm.
in days and times to be submitting a letter, or is it better to do that in email form?
You can do both. You can do both. It's
So you
okay. You can do
submit
both.
the letter, but you can also do an email, a shorter
You can do both.
email that says,
Just expect for a letter you may not receive a response right away or a response at all, but email you can do both. You can do both. And I want to follow up on something that you said really quick, and thank you for providing a lot more clarity with what the example I gave you about what the company is asking from you. You're entering into an agreement. Let's be honest. You're entering into an agreement with a corporation, an employer, a firm. So let's take it back to the resume on those bullet points, which you should have no more than 5 or 6. I know we all have a lot of experience, and I've seen 10 bullet points, 11, no more than five or
"Mhm,
six. Please, no more than 5 or 6. Those should not, it would, whenever possible, depending on your level of professionalism, profession, and the amount of years of work experience you have or what you did, those should be accomplishments, things you did for the company, things that are measurable results, not responsibilities. If you were a director of arts, the recruiter knows what director of arts did. They don't even know what your responsibilities are. They want to know what you did while you were in that position and how that goes into um, you being considered for this position. Now I want to say something, and I want you to. This is where nuance comes in, but it's very, very important. Very important. What you don't want to do, or I highly not recommend doing, is being have a resume that looks like you are the jack of all trades. Over the years, we all collect or acquire a certain level of knowledge. That's great. And we get to a point where we could possibly do all things. However, that doesn't help from two perspectives, from a hiring manager perspective. Because number one, if you put down that you have all these skills, and maybe Anne Marie can back me up on this, there's a place, and when you sign that agreement to work there, there are duties that's assigned. They're going to want to give, you may get assigned all those duties because you put that down in your resume that you could do all those things, but you may not be compensated for them. Your resume is not a place for you to put all your skills. And this comes back to the tailoring part. It is to be tailored for that role. You do not have to give the employer all of your skills right away unless you want to do them all the way for less than you possibly will be compensated for them. Prime example, I know someone that speaks several languages and they work for an international firm. They had to do several sessions of interpreting official documents, and they were compensated no more than what they were paid. In any other case, interpreters are paid $300 an hour, no minimum $300 an hour, but they receive no compensation for that. So use your discernment, your nuance. That once again, put the time in for your resume. You don't have to give them more than what they are asking for, Another reason for that is oftentimes recruiters looking for something, they may think about cross cross company things or cross foundation things, or oh, this is for our 5-year plan or our 10-year plan. That's fine. You need to renegotiate my pay in 10 years when we get there. I'm just trying to get the job today. You don't have to
Mhm.
be a jack of all trades. You don't have to give them everything right away just to get the job, because that experience shows that employers usually don't want to say we're going to give you less work. They're going to give you more with minimum compensation. So
Or
you're
pro
bargaining. My
compensation.
point is you're
Let me just
bargaining.
throw
You're
in
bargaining.
there.
You're
Go ahead, Robert. Finish your thought, and then I'm gonna.
your bargaining chip starts with your resume. That's my point. So that I'll let Emery finish that.
That's a really good piece of advice you
Mm-hmm.
just there, because especially us Black folk, we want to show our value from the first stroke, because we know we're already behind the eight
Mm-hmm.
ball at the very beginning, and so we want to be like, pick me, and we don't understand that they will pick you, and they will work you like a beat mule. They will work you like a beat mule, and you talking about minimal compensation. I'm saying zero compensation. Okay? Zero compensation. And
Trying
you
to be
put in,
nice.
I speak three languages. Because I know someone personally who worked for a company for years translating documents, doing translation, never got paid one damn dime
Not
for all
one.
the work that they did. And it would pain me every time they would tell me all the stuff they were doing, because I knew that they could make so much more money just doing translation. To this day, I tell them they should be doing translation, but they don't listen to me. But it's very important. Even though you play the piano, you speak three languages, if that is not relevant to the job, don't tell them about it. Don't tell them. If you're a notary
Don't
public,
do it.
take it from me. If you're a notary public, don't tell them about it. They're going to try to have you notarizing everybody's damn documents and never pay you for it. Don't do it. Anything that does is not specifically directly relevant. My dear
Mm-mm.
brothers and sisters, especially my
Don't do
sisters,
it.
the pygmishas of the universe, do not tell them about it, because they are going to have you up there doing it for free. Robert knows how I go. Robert is always trying to be, the most gracious, say the things in the best possible way. I'm just gonna say it. Not no minimal compensation. You're gonna get zero
You're
compensation,
gonna get extra work. That's what you're gonna get.
and you're going to get extra work and no pay. Okay. And most of these jobs, salaried. So you ain't even going to get no overtime. Right. So do not put things in there trying to get people's attention in that way. Focus on what the job announcement says, getting the right keywords in there.
Mm-hmm.
Focus on showing that you can do the work that they are looking for someone to hire to do. So speak to that. Always be
Mm-hmm.
speaking that, focusing on that in terms of your resume development. And then what you're going to talk about to the recruiter is focusing on that, but not on, oh, and I play the piano. Oh, and I speak languages. Oh, and I'm a notary public. And because they're going to be like, oh, because people have these conversations. You know this. We've been in these rooms. Oh, this person be great. And by the way, they do this, and this. So we could tap into that too. People
We're gonna
literally
hire you
say
for
this.
2 teams. We're gonna put you on 2 teams.
Yes,
We're gonna split your
yes.
time. I'm sorry,
But
what?
they're not
I
going
didn't
to
apply
pay
for
you.
that. Yes, you
They're
did.
not going to pay you extra. They're
No.
not going to pay you extra. And then they're going to evaluate you and say, oh, she didn't translate them documents. Oh, she didn't do that. When that wasn't nowhere near part of the job description. Right? But then it somehow ends up in your job description because you said you knew how to do it. So what
Yeah.
Robert said is important. Don't be up here telling people all these extra things you know how to do that don't have nothing to do with what is in that job announcement. Stick to what is in that job announcement and
Mm-hmm.
showing how you know how to do the things in the job announcement that make you the best person for. And then those soft skills that Robert talked about, collaboration, team building, that's where those are the things you want to talk about. Those are the things you want to lean into, right? If they want to know things that you're good at, I'm a great
Absolutely.
collaborator. I know how to bring people together. I know how to, build consensus, that kind of stuff, right? but not I know how to do the, do go make Excel spreadsheets and do pivot tables and all these extra things that have nothing to do with what is in the job announcement. Because
Mm-mm.
next thing you know, you sitting in a corner in a cubicle doing pivot tables all damn day. And that's not what
Hey, I
ought
like
to
pivot
be doing.
tables.
But you went and told somebody that you knew how to do it. You get what I'm saying? Robert,
Absolutely.
I've seen this happen to people, and it has happened to me. It happened to you, Robert. I know these things
Oh,
have
yes.
all of us in the workplace. So these are mistakes that we have made that we are telling you do not do it. And as people, as black people, we fall into this trap because we feel we got to prove our value all the time. We've got to prove that we're somebody worthy, right? We're told that over and over. So even when our resume is strong, we got all the skills in there, but we always feel like
Mhm.
we got to one extra thing that it's like the man tap dancing. You just going, trying to show I'm the best person. I'm the best person. Instead of bringing in all those things, lean into what is in that job announcement and the soft skills that you have.
And can I add one more thing to that too,
Sure.
for on a broader concept? It also makes you, in those cases, closer to the the power structure of your organization. If you are doing extra things, you're included in extra meetings, you have closer access to the executive suite. But remember, they already have their job, and there is no path. There may not be a path for you at that place, but they're going to get all of those things out of you. So once
Mhm.
again, your resume is your business card. It is your love letter to your hopefully new employer, but it is also your first bargaining chip. They're going to look at that and say, hey, what is your compensation? What can you bring in us? You don't have to disclose all of your skills if you're not being compensated for it, because it's going to be very hard to retract it once you're there. Hmm.
Is there anything else that you would like to
Hmm.
share with people
Hmm.
about resume development and resume building skills, as well as can you let people know how to find you? Because I want people to know how to find you because resume development is not a skill everyone has. And even though you're watching this video and this is a lot of good content, you may still find that you need help in doing this well because as Robert has explained, one size does not fit all. It never really did, but especially now with ATS and the way it uses AI, one size doesn't fit all. And so creating a resume is going to be something you're constantly doing if you're seriously about finding a job. So finding a person who's a professional and knows how to do this is going to be really important. So Robert, can you like answer my question about what a couple last thoughts as we close this out, as well as how people can find you. And then there's some information I also want to add about a little bonus session we're going to be doing with Robert. Um, I'll talk about that after Robert shares that information.
Thank you. First of all, it's been a pleasure being here. One thing I wanted to touch on that we didn't want to touch on so much, but it could be a whole nother session, is your cover letter or introductory letter. Your resume and your cover letter should speak to each other. Your cover letter or introductory letter is going to be the narrative of what you put into your resume. You gaps in employment. You're going to explain those soft skills you have. You're going to give them measurable examples of why those soft skills and why those applied skills make sense. You have to do that. You are the special ingredient in this for the intention and the time that you put into yourself. You're investing in yourself, the weeks that you put into your resume. It's going to show up because AI can't do that. It's a great tool. It's a framework. It'll save you sometimes, but nothing can replace, your own No one knows your professional experience. No one knows what output you want except for you, right? So you have to invest in yourself. And in closing, I will say, uh, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So always have your resume updated. You should be no more than 2 or 3 days out from applying for that dream position in 3 days. If you just add or look at it dust it off every now and then, it won't be such a labor of love. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So always invest in yourself and be prepared. So, and you can reach me at Petish and Petish Professionals or petishandpetish.com. And my personal email is Robert C. Petish at petishandpetish.com. There you go.
And I will include that in the description of the video so that you
Hmm.
can reach out to Robert if you need assistance with your resume. Now, if you are a member of the anti-HR community, the anti-HR membership community, I will be doing a session with Robert for members only where we will get in more depth about the cover letter development, resume development, where people will be able to actually ask Robert questions in real time. So if you are a member of the anti-HR membership community, you don't have to do anything because we will be scheduling that session very soon, and I will be reaching out to you to ask you about what kind of questions you're going to have, and so that Robert can be prepared ahead of time, and also he'll be available. There'll be a session and a Q&A, so you'll be able to talk to Robert in more depth. If you are not a member and you're interested in this, now's the time to join the anti-HR membership community, and there will be a link in the description of this video that tells you how to do that. It's only $12 a month to be an annual member, and $20 a month if you choose to opt for the monthly membership. So there are multiple options for you to be able to do that, but I highly recommend it because I will always be doing these kinds of special sessions inside of the community to help people build these skills. Right now, a lot of people getting out into the job market. It is an employer's market right now. So now, it's really important to really understand how to create a resume that is going to resonate with recruiters, and also the resume that's going to get past that ATS and AI to get you in front of the recruiters. So, Robert, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today. I really appreciate it. Me and Robert are both in two different parts of the world. So I really appreciate Robert taking the
It's been
time to
so
talk.
much fun. I
And
love
it's
this. You know how
and it
much of
took
a
support
nerd I
because
am.
I was having some Wi-Fi challenges where I am this week. So I appreciate your patience with all of that, and I
Of
appreciate
course.
your time to be here.
Anytime I can talk shop, I'm good. I love it. I love it.
And you're very, very good at it. So hopefully, I will see you guys in another video. I really do hope that this was helpful for you guys. I hope that you will share in the comments, your thoughts on this, any questions or comments that you have. Please do share them in the comment section, and know that if you want to get answers to those questions, you can join the community and join the next session that Robert and I are going to have. If you are not a subscriber, of the Anti-HR channel, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, comment, but comment constructively. And remember, as always, that HR is not your enemy, but it's definitely not your friend, but I am. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.